Hello there, good evening indeed, and many thanks for joining us right here on Rwanda Television News. We hope you had yourselves a great start to your week, and this is what makes up our top stories tonight.
Kigali city residents are saying that the delays in accessing different services in institutions are leading to corruption.
Rwanda's Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Donatille Mukabadisa, received Wallonia's Parliament Speaker of Belgium to discuss the relationship between the two parliaments. A task force with the responsibility of maintaining good relations between both parliaments that was put in place. We are glad to have your company tonight, joining you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali. My name is Sam Kalisa.
And I'm Isabel Masozera.
As we kick it off, Isabel.
Yes, let's get to our top story now. Kigali city residents are saying that the delays in accessing different services in institutions are leading to corruption. Ghislaine Mugwaneza filed this report.
Serafini Tejeka took a loan from a financial institution to go for medical services abroad and put her properties, including house and plots of land, as collateral, hoping the tenants will repay the loan. But when she returned, she found out that her properties were auctioned unknowingly. I came back and found out that my houses were sold out. I used to receive 960,000 Rwandan francs per month, and I built my houses at 83 million Rwandan francs, but they auctioned them at 22 million Rwandan francs. I don't understand that. I didn't even get the money back. I followed up to see if I can get the rest of the money if they take theirs. They later told me that they will give me 12 million Rwandan francs. I accepted so that I won't live badly, yet I had houses. But again, selling my properties at 22 million Rwandan francs is like giving them for free, just because of 5 million they gave me. There are services being criticized by residents for having corruption gaps, and some of the residents are reluctant to give information.
You can see that the measures to fight corruption set by the government is having positive results, but corruption is still being found at some places. You cannot hide that drivers bribe police because a policeman cannot ask for it himself. They know each other. You just have to send money and they will let you go. I first went to district officials and they discouraged me. I went to Kigali City and wrote a letter asking to construct a 2-story house. They also discouraged me and told me I'm not yet permitted to build the house and that if I'm rushing, I can sell the plot of land and buy somewhere else. Always giving us other appointments is an issue to the country. The chief ombudsperson, Madeleine Nirere, has said that though there is a step made in eradicating corruption, the weakness is still being found in giving information. The rules and regulations are in place, but more concern is on how they're implemented. Another thing is how people's mindsets tolerate corruption. Those mindsets should change. I don't think that a person can just give bribe. Maybe it is because the service providers asked for it, or else the person did not get good services. But only knowing information about corruption and do not give them is also tolerating it. People should provide information. Many people say they don't want to cause trouble, or they do not know where to give the information. Public servants give information about corruption at a rate of 81%, while NGOs, private sectors, media, and the community are at 18.8%. Today, July 11, 2022, Rwanda joined African countries to celebrate African Anti-Corruption Day under the theme Strategies and Mechanisms for the Transparent Management of COVID-19 Funds. Out of 180 countries in the world, Rwanda ranks 52nd in fighting corruption, 5th in Africa, and 1st in the East African community. Ghislaine Mugwaneza, RTV News. Thank you, Ghislaine. And as we head to matters related to the World Population Day, as Rwanda joins the rest of the world in celebrating the World Population Day, social workers and statistics say that the population growth must be accompanied with the country's economic growth. We do have the report.
Members of Korika Cooperative in Jabana Sector, Gasabo District, after harvesting low-quality rice, are in process of processing it before it is refined at the factory. These farmers say that rice farming supports not just them, but their families' well-being, having chosen a family planning program. My eldest is 12 years old and the youngest 11 months. When the rice is ready for harvesting, we have food and money too, because when we harvest, the produce is taken to the cooperative where the harvester buys it from. We are able to get our children's school fees, health insurance, progress as a family, which ultimately requires careful planning for the child to have easy access to food and participation in the Ejoheza saving fund.
My family has 4 children. When I get a good harvest, I buy cows, build for them. My children get school fees. I pay me too well. We have food and our children get better home.
According to the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda, in the country, the population is estimated at 13 million this year, reaching 21 million by 2050. While the Ministry of Health estimates that family planning in Rwanda is at 64%, the fertility rate for women is 4.1, while the average life expectancy for a Rwandan is 69 years. On Monday, Rwanda joined other countries in commemorating World Population Day. Sexual reproductive health, Dr. Anisette Nzabonimpa says that the day was established by the United Nations to reflect on the world's growing population.
This is due to the changes in the living standards of the world population based on 3 major factors. Firstly, the number of annual deaths has dropped dramatically in the last 2 centuries. However, there is visible increase in youth category, about 70% of the world's population.
Dr. Nzabonimpa says research shows no country has registered tangible progress without harvesting in family planning programs.
People should understand the meaning of this increase. I feel the number of people living in a certain country should go hand in hand with the growth of the economies of the countries, our citizens' livelihood. This is why people should discuss the principle of family planning. Family members are involved. They have an economic understanding and they have the power to regulate the number of children they will give birth to. Studies show that if people do not take the initiative to participate in family planning, they may have to give birth to unwanted, unplanned children. A child is born without available resources to care for him or her, and the child dies, leaving the family devastated.
The UNFPA country representative for Rwanda says International People's Day is a time to reflect on the progress people are making and appreciates Rwanda's progress when it comes to family planning programs.
And the government has made efforts around family planning to decrease the fertility rate and ensure a quality population. The latest DHS data shows a decrease in total fertility rate, an increase in the use of modern contraceptive, and a narrowing of unmet need for family planning. To maintain the accelerated pace of contraceptive uptake, necessary steps are required to improve the quality, outreach, and impact of family planning services, especially for adolescents and youth.
This year's theme for World Population Day is a world of 8 billion towards a resilient future, harnessing opportunities and ensuring rights and choices for all. The United Nations Population Fund estimates that the world's population will reach 8 billion by the end of the year. While it took thousands of years for the world's population to reach 1 billion, it took only 200 years to increase from 1 billion to 7 billion, a figure that was estimated in 2011. Still on the World Population Day, now Monday the 11th of July is World Population Day, with projections indicating that the global population will hit 8 billion by the end of this year 2022. Now in Rwanda, figures indicate that close to 13 million, and will hit to 21 million by 2050. Now, the vast majority of Rwanda's population is made up of the youth. On this particular occasion, the country representative of the United Nations Population Fund here in Rwanda released the following statement.
A world of 8 billion towards a resilient future, harnessing opportunities and ensuring rights and choices for all is the theme for this year's International World Population Day. As we are in Rwanda and as put in Kia Rwanda, this will be summarized as Ibaruzi Koku Uri Uru Agachiro. Every 11th of July, we celebrate International Population Day. World Population Day offers a moment to celebrate human progress. Our world, despite its challenges, is one where higher shares of people are educated and live in healthier lives than at any previous point in history. Societies that invest in their people, in their rights and choices, have proven time and again that this is the road to the prosperity and peace everyone wants and deserves. It will be important to keep this fact in mind. In the next few months, the total number of people in the world tips over 8 billion. This number will attract much attention and debate and likely scaremongering over too many people. That will be a mistake. The best way to ensure demographic resilience is to support human rights, including individuals' reproductive rights and choices. This year's celebration of the World Population Day is an opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to the International Conference on Population for Development Program of Action by raising awareness around reproductive health and also around the RPAC 2022 and the ICPD 25 commitment, which was launched in Nairobi some years back, and FP 2030 commitments and the agency to put women and girls at the center of efforts to recover from COVID-19 and build forward better. Our march continues towards zero unmet need for family planning, zero preventable maternal deaths, zero gender-based violence and harmful practices. At UNFPA, we advocate proactively measuring and anticipating demographic changes. Each country should have the information it requires to meet the needs of diverse population groups and ensure that individuals can realize their full potentials. Rwanda is in the middle of preparing the 5th National Population and Housing Census, with the enumeration starting on August 14th till the end of the month of August 30th, 2022. The census theme, Ibaruzi Kuguru Uri Akachiro, translates as "be counted because you count." And we keep the same for the World Population Day to create more awareness for stronger community participation. Rwanda's high population growth has put an increased demand on food, infrastructure, and services, and the government has made efforts around family planning to decrease the fertility rate and ensure a quality population. The latest DHS data shows a decrease in total fertility rate, an increase in the use of modern contraceptive, and the narrowing of unmet need for family planning. To maintain the accelerated pace of contraceptive uptake, necessary steps are required to improve the quality, outreach, and impact of family planning services, especially for adolescents and youth. UNFPA commends the government of Rwanda for its ICPD 25 commitments made at the historic Nairobi Summit and FP 2030 commitments to accelerate access to sexual and reproductive health and rights for all. Rwanda is making tremendous progress, and together with our valued partners, UNFPA will continue to support the realization of this commitment. Let us work together to uphold the right of every woman to decide when and if to be pregnant, and let us stand up for the rights and choices of all women and girls.
And moving ahead to other matters, Rwanda's Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Donatille Mukabalisa, received Wallonia's Parliament Speaker of Belgium to discuss the relationship between two parliaments, a task force with the responsibility of maintaining good relations between both parliaments that was put in place. Seeking out projects beneficial to the development of both countries was a point of emphasis. Rwanda's Speaker noted that the good relations between Rwanda and Belgium have been advantageous, and it's time for both countries to share information and innovation to benefit both of them.
We want to strengthen the good relations between our countries. We have already created a bond between both parliaments, and we hope to maintain the good relations between them. There is a lot we can learn from one another, and the companionship that supports that will benefit both Belgium and Rwanda.
On his part, Wallonia's Parliament Speaker observed that the discussions he had with his Rwandan counterpart were focused on the legislative change in an ever-changing world and how vital it is for different parliaments to collaborate in an effort to achieve shared sustainable development. When you look back at how the parliament operated 20 or 30 years back, it is very different from what we see today. The impact of technology has come into play, and the focus has shifted entirely and catering for citizens' need, which the legislature is currently following up on. Basing on the discussions we've had so far, we expect good results.
Now, still in the news, Rwanda's Inspector General of Police, CGP Dan Munyuza, has received his Somali counterpart, Major General Abdi Hassan Mohammed, who is in Rwanda for a week-long visit. Somalia's police commissioner has appreciated Rwanda for the support in capacity building for Somalia's police force. Betty Motoni with more.
The police force bilateral meeting that took place on Monday in Kigali focused on the partnership Rwanda has with Somalia since 2011. Major General Abdi Hassan Mohammed was pleased by the welcome he received from his Rwandan counterparts. Police Commissioner of Somalia noted that Somalia's senior officers who are trained in Rwanda are in the forefront in the struggle of fighting against terrorists, mostly known as Al-Shabaab.
I would like to thank the IGP of the Rwanda National Police Commander. We have been trained in this staff college for the 6 officers, and they are the basic or the backbone of the police in Somalia. You may know that Somalia have a civil war in 1991. We are starting from the scratch our police, the force, to work or to give the Somali people the security there. And these officers are the most important officers that we have right now, because they are taking part of the capacity building of the police force in Somalia.
Rwanda National Police spokesperson CP John Bosco Kabera noted that in addition to the partnership of police between Rwanda and Somalia, Rwanda is ready to continue working with Somalia in a broader sense when required.
Up to now, Rwanda National Police has trained 60 Somali police officers at the level of senior officers at National Police College Musanze, and he will actually participate in the graduation ceremony that is slated for this week of the police officers now who have been undergoing training at Musanze for 1 year. So they're actually reviewing the MOU and evaluating how it has been implemented. But there are also other areas, as you have heard, they have discussed, including the request by the Somalia police chief to his counterpart to train junior officers at the tactical level, as well as the sharing of information in fighting organized crimes and counterterrorism that has been made by his counterpart of Rwanda National Police.
Since 1991, Somalia has experienced conflict, and apart from the partnership in sharing knowledge, the Inspector General of Police, CGP Dan Munyuza, has noted that the partnership between Rwanda and Somalia will continue with the sharing of information about international crimes. Betty Mutoni, RTV News.
Thank you, Betty, and we'll kick it with matters related to banking. Citizens across the country have expressed concern with high interest rates on loans among savings and credit cooperatives, commonly known as SACCOs, and find it difficult for them to borrow from these financial institutions, yet they have been established to help them access financial services with ease. Their wish is for this issue to be solved so that SACCOs can help them instead of burdening them. We have more. To date, SACCOs across the country charge a 24% annual interest rate on loans. Citizens have been complaining that the interest rate is too high for them, with the fact that many of them are low-income earners, which makes them prefer working with commercial banks that charge a reasonable interest rate. You find that SACCOs, which were established to help citizens, have high interest rates on loans, yet commercial banks charge moderate interest rates. SACCOs should rather charge less interest rates compared to commercial banks.
They charge a high interest rate, considering that you have to pay rent and tax. You prefer going to a bank that will charge a low interest rate on loan.
Since the launch of SACCOs in 2008, at least every sector has got this financial institution established and operational. 14 years since these institutions were established and brought closer to citizens, the number of those who have access to financial services increased from 52% in 2008 to 93%. However, some citizens say they are discouraged from borrowing from SACCOs mainly because of high interest rates. We need advocacy so that the interest rate can be reduced to at least 15% or even 10% in order to help citizens develop themselves.
We would like SACCOs to reduce interest rates, just like other commercial banks, as they were established to help us and also provide better services.
Out of all loans provided by financial institutions in Rwanda, agriculture accounts for 5%, despite the sector employing more than 70% of the country's population who have easy access to SACCOs in their respective sectors. Some of the citizens who seek financial services from SACCOs say sometimes their dossiers are delayed. However, Ndaira Gijebeliz, loan officer at the Ndora SACCO in Gisagara district, explained that the issue is not the case with all loans, pointing out that such problems are common with loans related to VUP and BDF.
For some loans, like the ones that pass through VUP or BDF, we are not the ones to decide. After accessing the loan, we write to BDF for approval, which takes a long process. We have been talking to them so that it can be solved. For VUP, sometimes citizens apply for loans to help them in their activities, and you find that it takes very long to process the loan, sometimes exceeding the period in which a citizen wanted the money.
The Central Bank of Rwanda highlighted that there is an issue of shortage of funds in SACCOs, as 60% of the total banking money is owned by commercial banks, while SACCOs have only 5%. The governor of the Central Bank of Rwanda, John Rwangombwa, noted that the problem of high interest rates in SACCOs will be solved by a planned digital integration of these institutions, something that is as well expected to improve their management. After SACCOs are integrated to have the district SACCO instead of small independent SACCOs, even their capacity will increase. Also, when their capacity to assess projects to be given loans, hence reducing risks of losses, it will improve their performance, because sometimes, due to increased loans, SACCOs decide to stop giving out loans to citizens. The Rwanda Cooperatives Agency is the day-to-day supervisory unit of the SACCOs and cooperatives, with the National Bank of Rwanda being the supervisory body for financial institutions in the country.
And that report brings us to the end of today's bulletin. Always a pleasure bringing you the latest here in Rwanda and around the world. I am Isabel Masozera.
And my name is Sam Kalisa.
Have a good night.
Bye.